everybody. Welcome to Life Science Live. I'm Robin, and I'm super excited to be here with you guys today because next week we have a very exciting holiday coming up, and that is Thanksgiving. So today we're going to be talking about some of the organisms that we like to eat at Thanksgiving. And a lot of people like to have big feasts with their family and friends, so we're going to learn some really cool science behind these plants and animals. And then during dinner, you can impress all of your relatives and friends with all these cool facts that you know about the things that we eat for Thanksgiving dinner. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is the turkey. It's probably one of the most iconic Thanksgiving foods that we like to eat. So turkeys, we'll be talking about wild turkeys today. They're found almost all over North America, especially though in the eastern half of the country. They are in the west, just not quite as many as they are in the east. So they have wild turkeys. Wild turkeys like to live in forests. Turkeys really like trees because even though they don't look like they might be the kind of bird that would go and sit up in a tree, they actually are. Turkeys like to spend the nights in trees because up in the trees they are out of reach from their predators like coyotes and raccoons and the kinds of things that might attack them while they're sleeping. So turkeys will go and they'll roost up in trees. And turkeys don't migrate during the cold season, so trees are especially important for them during the winter as well, because turkeys will go and hide up in conifers during really bad storms. You might be wondering, how do turkeys get up in the trees? Because they're pretty big birds, but turkeys actually fly, contrary to a lot of popular belief. A lot of people don't think that turkeys are able to fly, and a lot of times domestic turkeys aren't able to. So that's probably where the thought comes from, because people who have turkey farms or they breed turkeys, the turkeys aren't able to fly very well. But wild turkeys are actually very good flyers. They can fly up to 55 miles per hour, so they're very, very fast. One thing about their flight, though, is they don't fly very far. We already talked about how they don't migrate, and they usually don't fly for more than a quarter of a mile at a time. So they are very good, very fast flyers, just not very far flyers. But they do, in fact, fly, which is very impressive because they are very big birds. You can see this bird to the side of me. This is a male turkey. Male turkeys can get to be up to 24 pounds, and some even have been recorded to be up to 30 pounds. So turkeys are very, very heavy birds. But there is a very big difference between the male and the females because on average the females are only 12 pounds. So they're much, much smaller than the male turkeys are. And so unfortunately, I don't have a female turkey with me here today to show you some of the differences because even though they're the same species, they look very, very different and have some very different structures. But we'll be talking a lot about the male turkey today since that's what I have. So the first thing we'll talk about is these beautiful feathers that you see here, these fan feathers in the back. Let me see if I can get a good shot of the entire bird. He has those beautiful fan feathers in the back. And you can see that his body feathers are very shiny and very pretty. They kind of have an iridescence about them. And the turkeys will have these beautiful feathers, the male turkeys will, in order to attract females. So the female turkeys are usually pretty dull and brown, and they're not quite as extravagant or as pretty as these, and they don't have the fan feathers in the back. But the male turkeys have these beautiful feathers in order to attract females. Another structure on the turkey that's very recognizable and very cool to see is this red structure down here. So that red structure is called the wattle, and the wattle acts as a way for the turkey to be able to release heat. Because you can see they're covered by really thick, dark feathers, and so they aren't able to release heat from their bodies very well. So having an exposed head and some exposed skin around their neck enables them to be able to release some heat, because they also don't sweat, so that's a place that they have heat release that they're able to do. The wattle also acts in the male as an attractor to the females, because only the male turkeys have it. And so a male that has a really long, healthy-looking wattle means that he's a very healthy bird, so he'd be a good bird to mate with. All right, so that is the wattle. The next structure that we're going to talk about in the male turkey, I'm going to try really hard to show on the camera there. There we go. You'll see that in the very back of the turkey, he has these little spikes. And these little spikes are called spurs. And so these spurs are used for fighting other turkeys that might be threatening their territory or might be threatening their mate, or that they want to meet with a certain bird and another bird wants to as well. They can fight with their spurs. And so you can often judge a turkey's age based on the spur size. So the younger turkeys will have smaller spurs, and the older ones will have longer, sharper ones. So that's one way that you can tell a turkey's age based off of those spurs, which is pretty cool. All right, another structure that we're going to talk about on turkeys is this right here. This is called a beard. And it looks like hair growing out of the turkey, right? But it's actually a type of modified feather. And so the beard starts growing when the turkey's about 5 months old, and it will keep growing its entire life. And a lot of times, even though it keeps growing its entire life, it doesn't get too long because it'll get really frayed and worn and break off at the end. But the thought of the beard is that it's thought to be another show of fitness. So a female can look at a male and tell how fit he is based on how long and healthy looking his beard is. If he has a really short one that's not doing very well, that means that he probably wouldn't be a very good mate and he might not have that good of genes. So the female would probably avoid him. All right, so that is some information about turkeys, about wild turkeys, that you can share with your family as you're eating Thanksgiving dinner, as you're eating the turkey. You can tell them all about it. And another kind of organism that we like to eat on Thanksgiving is not an animal, but it's found in the plant family. And that is potatoes. My family usually eats them mashed during Thanksgiving. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the potato life cycle. So the first thing that I want to point out is there's these little divots in the potato. And then coming out of the divots, there are these little green bumps. And those green bumps are shoots where a new potato is going to grow. So if I were to chop up this potato and take the little pieces of the shoots and plant them, a new plant would grow out of it. And the potato acts as a root. So the potato is part of the plant's root, and I have this little picture here that kind of shows the potato's life cycle. So let me hold it up so you can see it. You'll see if I were to plant a potato, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be the whole potato, it just has to be a portion that has one of the little bumps on it, and we call those eyes. Those little spots where the plants are growing out of. So if I were to plant one of those eyes, it would start to grow a plant out, and you'll see that that's the root. The potato is the root. And it grows out, and it grows this really big, pretty plant, and it has usually purple or white flowers on it. And then the plant will get pollinated so that there's genetic variation in the potatoes. And then you'll see that as the roots grow out, we get more and more potatoes. And one potato plant can yield up to 10 potatoes. So if you think about, if I were to plant one potato and get 10 new potatoes out of it, that's a really easy food to grow, and it's really easy to feed lots and lots of people based off of this. So potato is a very important food, not only for Thanksgiving, but for a lot of countries it's a staple food because it's able to grow a lot of food pretty easily. So that is a little bit about the potato. All right, the next kind of plant that we're going to talk about that is eaten a lot during Thanksgiving is usually eaten in the form of a pie, and that is your classic pumpkin pie. So I have this little tiny pumpkin here, and you can see that is a very bright, oh no, this stem fell off. Put that over there. All right, that's a very bright orange color. And pumpkins can be various colors, but usually, especially in the pie, we like to have our orange pumpkins in there. And pumpkins are technically, in a botanical sense, a fruit. So it's actually a fruit pie. So pumpkins get their orange color from carotenoid pigments. And carotenoid pigments help to absorb light and help in the photosynthesis process. So that is why pumpkins are orange, so that they can get that photosynthesis and absorb that light. And pumpkins are very versatile plants and very hardy plants. They can grow on every single continent except for Antarctica. So they do a pretty good job growing. And pumpkins are also very versatile to eat. So they're grown on almost every continent, and they can be eaten a lot of different ways. So you can eat the seeds, you can eat the skin, you can eat the leaves, and you can also eat the flowers of pumpkins. So they're very versatile and they can be eaten in lots of different ways. But on Thanksgiving, the way that we like to enjoy our pumpkins is we will puree the skin or this outer shell of the pumpkin, and then that's how we get our pumpkin pies, is by pureeing the shell of the pumpkin. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning into Life Science Live and learning a little bit about the organisms that we enjoy around Thanksgiving time. And hopefully you all have a wonderful and safe Thanksgiving. See you later.